As we plan for the coming spring, join us as we recap what was grown at the OSU Student Farm. Today we'll look at cool season crops: broccoli, cabbage, kohlrabi, and spinach. Then we head over to our daily bread to see the impact it's making. Underwriting assistance for our program is provided by the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing.
So if you're looking for an easy, low-maintenance perennial, have two different types of flowers on one plant. Capsaicinoids that gives the pepper its heat. You might remember at the end of last season, we were here at the student farm, and we are back joined again by Lynda Carrier, who is the manager of the new OSU Student Farm, to get an update. Lynda, so it's been hot and cold back and forth today. We've got a beautiful winter day, but you guys have been doing a lot behind the scenes. Tell us a little bit of what you've been doing.
Okay, well, we had to get a lot of infrastructure underway. Being that there's no utilities currently on here, we had to kind of start at square one and also put in a lot of irrigation. So the irrigation's been installed, so we're ready to take off with that. We're also working on building a fence, an 8-foot tall deer fence. It's going to take some time to get that going, but we've started on it. We're building students are building H-braces and fence gates and so forth.
What kind of thought process went into, you just had raw land out here, right? And
Yes.
so there's a lot that has to go into the planning of where to even put that infrastructure. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, that took quite a bit of planning because we had to kind of lay out several ideas of what we thought would work, just even from the basics of where the irrigation should go. So we're sitting up on top of the hill here, and it slopes down pretty gradual. So we've got our irrigation all up on the high ground.
So gravity will help it.
Yes, exactly. And so that way you don't have anything backflowing or any issues with that. We're originally starting out with strip tilling down each about 10-foot centers between our spacing. So our tiller will be 6 foot wide, and we'll till strips down through there and then center it and do another one. So they'll be 10 foot apart between centers.
Okay.
So we're going to put our north fence is going to be right up against the white fence down there. And mainly we decided to do that because there's some trees on the south side of that fence. And if we put the fence south of them, then that gives us not enough buffer room to turn around. So we're going to leave us a little room down there. It'll be kind of a grassy area. We'll just maintain it by mowing it and give us some extra room down there.
So it looks like you're really developing the west side before you go to the east side. Is that correct? But you do have some irrigation over there.
Yeah, we've got irrigation over there as well, but we decided to develop this side first because we've got the irrigation over here. We've got access to another source as well. And this being our first year, we're doing a lot of experimental stuff, or not experimental, but just it's trial and error.
Right, right. You're starting here. Tell me what you're planning. Going to be planting cool season crops in here soon?
Yeah, we've already started, I think about mid-January, we started a whole bunch of cool season crops in the greenhouse. They're coming up really good now. About 3,600 plants, actually.
All right.
So we'll do a lot of cool season through this area. As we shift down, we'll get into our warm season crops. And then if we need extra space, we can move over to the east side, but we'll probably only plant stuff over there that we know the deer won't mess with.
Okay, because you won't have a deer fence down there.
Yeah, okay. So we hope to get this one done before we start planting, which we need to.
Right.
But hopefully the weather will help us out a little bit.
And I think that's an important factor. Just because you have the space doesn't mean you have to plant it all.
Exactly.
Because that means more materials, more labor, more harvesting and all of that stuff. And so, start small, right?
Yep, that's
even if that's a few acres.
Yes, yeah.
Well, Lynda, thank you for giving us this update. And we'll be back in a few weeks to see those transplants going into the ground.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
we're back here at the student farm, and Lynda, it looks like I picked the right day because this is full harvest mode you guys are in.
Oh yeah, we've been harvesting broccoli for about a week, couple weeks now.
Well, and that's some beautiful stuff you got there.
Thank you, thanks.
So
We're excited.
I think one of the big things about broccoli is, when do you harvest it?
Yeah.
How do you tell?
Well, and we've been watching this stuff, and it's amazing. Overnight, it grows rapidly. So we've had some earlier this week on Monday. We harvested about 100 heads of broccoli, and now today is Wednesday, and we're harvesting again, and we've got a lot more to harvest today. And there were actually some that over matured in 2 days.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about those signs that you're seeing as far as when it's ready and over maturity, if you don't mind.
I'll just show you an example.
Okay.
This is one on Monday. We didn't think was quite ready Monday, and then now today, as you can see, it's starting to get kind of a lime green color. The florets on it are starting to get a little bit larger in size, bubbling out, and it's separating.
Okay.
So it's still very marketable, and it's still good, but it is on the borderline of being too mature.
So it might not have as long of a shelf life once you're out there at the store. Yeah. Okay.
And then like this one, as you see, it's got more that blue-green color. It's more the dome shape, and everything's pretty tight on it. So it's obviously a much prettier head.
Okay. Well, what about secondary growth on broccoli? Is there?
Yeah, we've got several that are starting new little shoots. In fact, there's a shoot in here that I harvested. It was big enough to harvest. So that was actually a secondary shoot.
Okay.
So when we're harvesting them, like I've got another nice head here.
Yeah.
We try to not harvest too far down, and maybe 5 inches at the very most. And then we can just take off these extra leaves. We leave a few on just because it's pretty. And then from this growth, some of these, like as you can see, they've already started some new shoots up. Okay. And then we've got some others that we've harvested earlier that have bigger shoots on them.
Yeah, there's one right here that's coming on too.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll be able to come back and start harvesting those secondary ones.
All right. Well, I know you got some other people harvesting other crops.
Yes. Yeah. Matt's over, I think he's harvesting cabbage, and our students are busy harvesting as well.
All right. Well, I'm going to go check in with Matt next.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Matt, it looks like you got your arms full there.
Yeah, we do. We've been harvesting cabbage here.
Yeah? So how do you know when cabbage is ready to be harvested?
Well, this particular variety, it gets to be about 3 to 5 pounds. So really, once it sizes up, it's going to be kind of what you see in the market, maybe bowling ball size.
Okay.
And then, you can feel them, and when they get pretty tight, that's when they're ready. Like you see this one here is smaller and it's loose. You can actually feel it's loose inside there, so it's not quite ready, and it's going to size up more.
Yeah.
This one though,
it's got a little more give.
Doesn't it? And this one's a little firmer.
Okay. So this, will size up versus it just being a smaller head, right? Okay. All right. So how do we go about harvesting it then?
So the way we do it, we'll just get next to it, push the leaves down, and take our knife and come right at the base.
Okay.
Remove the outer leaves, and then we got a nice cabbage head.
Nice head ready to go. Just that easy. What about all this extra stuff? Are you guys utilizing it, or could it be utilized?
Some people do like to eat these. I ran into people that like to cook them like collard greens, but generally we leave them in the field and then just incorporate them back into the row.
It's really good organic matter.
Yes, really good organic matter.
All right, so we're going to leave this for another day. And you mentioned this particular variety. What variety is this?
This variety is our toast.
Okay.
And we actually chose these varieties. We have this was an earlier variety, and it was one that we had done in variety trials in the past here at OSU. And the next variety over, a couple rows over, is Escazú, and it'll be ready probably by the end of this week or next week. And this one's about 60 days, and the Escazú is about 80 days.
Okay, and I would imagine kind of knowing the growth period also kind of gives you an idea of when
when you planted it, and then when days to harvest. So you got a rough idea when they should be ready. However many weeks from the time we planted it.
All right. So do you have any purple cabbage?
We do, and they're not quite ready yet.
Okay.
They're a little longer, But probably next week we'll be harvesting those.
All right, well, I know the students are harvesting something also, so I'm gonna go check in with them next.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. So here at the OSU Student Farm, one of the key things is giving the students the opportunity to learn how to produce vegetables firsthand. Parker, you're learning a lot, aren't you?
I am, yes.
So we've got some kohlrabi here. Tell me a little bit about that, because I think it's sort of maybe a foreign crop for some people.
Yeah, for sure. So with kohlrabi, we're kind of going for a swollen stem base. That's the main part that most people will eat. You can also eat the leaves. The new young tender leaves, they'll go raw in salads. Kind of a bitter turnipy taste.
Yeah.
And then cook the older ones.
But the leaves are beautiful.
They
you
are
could use
beautiful.
this for plating
Right,
or something,
yeah,
definitely too.
yeah.
So you've obviously been hard at it,
Just a little.
harvesting a lot of it. So we've got some beautiful stuff here. Tell me a little bit about how do you know when to harvest your kohlrabi?
Right. So it's a little bit different with some varieties, but most of the time what you're shooting for is about tennis ball, baseball size.
Okay.
They can get a little bit bigger, and you can harvest them smaller. It's not going to hurt anything. But if you let them get too big, they'll actually split open. And we've got one here that it just pops open, and then it gets all moldy and bugs in it, and you don't
All
want
right,
to eat
so
it.
that
after
one's
that.
no longer
Yeah,
marketable
no, we're
at
not
this
gonna.
point. Yeah.
We're not going to use that one.
So we've got some. Can you show me a little bit how you harvest on them?
You bet, yeah. So they've got a really woody taproot base to them.
Uh-huh.
And so one of the easiest ways is to just grab kind of low, use the leaves as leverage, and just twist.
Oh, okay.
Twist and pull it out of the ground.
Okay.
And then you just kind of take and snap the leaves off. You know, like we talked about, you could save them and cook them if you wanted to, or they make real good organic matter for compost. Throw them back down and till them in. Yeah, but then kind of
There you go.
just like that.
And I imagine that taproot that's left in the soil profile is beneficial also
sure.
for creating
Yeah,
that pore
for
space
sure.
later on.
It'll rot and create a cavity. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, because you're kind of on the tail end of this crop here, what's going to happen with this row when you're done with it?
So there's a couple things we could do. We could just let this leaf litter lie for a little bit and come back and maybe mulch it with the brush hog on the tractor, get it broken down a little bit, and then till it in and just leave it, and that'll be our organic matter for next year. We might clean it off and put some summer crops, maybe some sweet corn in a little bit later, because it's still early enough in the season that we could do that.
Okay.
Or we might come back and put some more cool seasons in the fall.
Okay.
So,
All right. Yeah, because July is really about the time you start planting full season again, right?
Yep.
So July, August. So it won't be long.
Right. No.
And what particular variety was this one again?
So this is Purple Vienna.
Okay.
And I think you've got some just regular green, white varieties too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go check in with Sam too.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey Sam, it looks like I just caught you in time as you're finishing up some spinach here.
Yeah, I've just been harvesting, kind of checking on any aphids, insect damage on these plants here.
Okay, so is spinach prone to getting aphids?
It is actually prone to spinach, or excuse me, it's prone to having aphid damage, both in greenhouse and outside.
Okay.
Yeah, just because of the close clusters tends to harbor insects.
They like to hide in those nooks and crannies, don't they?
Yeah.
So, I mean, is this ideal time to harvest spinach? What are we looking at? How do we harvest it?
Generally, we'll tend to harvest them between 50, 60 degrees, so maybe cooler times.
Okay.
They've actually started to bolt. If you look at them, some of these will have flowers that begin on them as it grows warmer.
Okay, which means they've kind of gone from that vegetative to the reproductive, and then your foliage doesn't taste as good, right?
Exactly. It gets really bitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got a few here that maybe are still salvageable?
We could. We have some right here we could harvest if you'd like to see.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. We actually direct seeded and transplanted. Transplant's usually not a common method for spinach because it doesn't really form roots the best. But we decided to try it out and see how it was effective, and we actually had an easier time harvesting the transplanted spinach versus the direct seed.
Why was it easier?
The direct seeded plants had small bundles, so we had to kind of group a bunch for delivery for our daily bread, and these ones grew with a taproot, and it kind of created a bundle itself.
So it really was better for the spacing too on that.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Well, these are nice. So what do you do? Just go in there? Do you select each leaf, or do you go through and take the whole head?
For these, because of the transplant, you can kind of just pull it all as a head.
Okay.
So I'll go underneath at the base of the spinach plant and kind of grab all the leaves and twist and pull up, and then we get a full root on the bottom. And then the people who eat it can go ahead and chop off whatever leaves they want to eat, and it's easier to wash this way as well.
Okay, so you go ahead and leave the roots on there and all, so that it sort of stays fresher?
Yeah, that generally tends to be the practice. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, it's beautiful spinach.
Yeah.
So what is kind of that growing temperature range for spinach?
50 to 60 degrees is usually what we go for.
So we're kind of winding down. So I know there's a few smaller ones. They're probably not going to make this season, right? So
they're probably going to be turned over in the compost or in the tilling. So.
Okay. Yeah. And you've got some, I think, in there that that one doesn't look so good.
No, it's a little sad, unfortunately. But yeah, this will either be thrown into compost. It's a good source of nitrogen if you want to add that to your compost bin. But we will probably turn over any of the leftover spinach to kind of be given back to the soil to help us for next year.
Right, okay. Well, Sam, I know you're switching subjects a little bit. You're a student here in our horticulture department.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what this experience of working here at the student farm has meant for you.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. I'm public horticulture, so to be involved in something that contributes to the public and seeing how it's benefited people at Our Daily Bread is really exciting and really fulfilling.
Well, thank you for sharing this with us.
Of course, yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Over the season, we've been following the OSU Student Farm and the production that's being grown there. Today, we are here at Our Daily Bread, joined by Rachael Condley, who is the director. And now we're getting to see where all that produce is going. So, Rachael, thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here.
So, tell us a little bit about Our Daily Bread.
So Our Daily Bread is a food and resource center. Our mission is feeding our community collaboratively and providing connections that enable lasting change. So obviously we're here in the food part.
Yes.
So we are modeled like a small grocery store where anyone experiencing food insecurity throughout Payne County can come and select groceries for their household once a month.
Okay. And so who all do you serve?
We serve everyone in Payne County. Anyone that comes in and says they need groceries gets to shop.
Okay.
So it's a really beautiful thing. We don't want asking for help to be anything that is embarrassing or hard, even though we know it is.
Right.
So we try to normalize it as much as possible, have music playing, make this obviously bright and upbeat. And then self-selecting groceries, we believe, provides a lot of dignity and also reduces waste because people are picking exactly what they can use in their household.
Okay. Well, and obviously you have a lot of shelf-stable stuff. But
right.
Something that's always been a need is fresh produce.
Yes.
Right. So tell us a little bit about how this collaboration came about with the OSU Student Farm.
Sure. So Dr. Justin Moss, who is the department head for horticulture and landscape architecture, he is a friend of Our Daily Bread, has been since the very beginning in 2017. He helps us a lot with our community garden here on site, which is a 1/4 acre. Our mission for that is production and education, but obviously on a 1/4 acre, we're pretty limited. So when I came on in 2021, he and I met up several times so that we could get acquainted. And he asked me once, like, you know, do you have all the produce that you need at Our Daily Bread? I said, no, we run out every session. We have to limit it for our guests. People always want more fruits and vegetables. And I'm a dietitian. That's where my heart is. I want to give them more fruits and vegetables and not day-old donuts, you know? Right. So he said, I want to show you something. And so at one of our meetings, he showed me the land that he had thought for years might be good for the project he had in mind. And we started talking about what maybe needed to happen to make that happen. And here we are.
Yeah. And so you got a lot of produce this season. This is the
produce.
first season to actually
Right.
kind of reap the benefit of that, right?
Right.
So, and next year it's even growing more.
I know. And I am so ready. So, you know, before we have a mobile market program. Obviously, not everyone throughout Payne County can get to us. So people with transportation difficulties, we go out every Wednesday afternoon to different communities in Payne County, and we weren't able to take any fresh produce before. So now, since the student farm, we take student farm produce to mobile market. We stock it in all of our satellites, including one on OSU's campus for the OSU family. And then we're able to have so much more to offer here as well.
And what are you hearing from your customers about the fresh produce?
Oh, they're in love with it. We've gotten, so social media is kind of a tricky thing. You know, some comments aren't always compliments. A lot of times they're constructive criticism. But when we started getting in the bulk of the student farm produce in the summer, we had people reaching out to us with pictures of what they were able to make with the produce that they got here. We had one lady specifically reach out and said her husband has cancer. They have to watch what they eat. She tries really hard to give him all the healthy foods possible, and how the produce had been such a blessing to them because she could have so much. She could freeze and store, she could juice it, and just for their health. She was so incredibly thankful. So those are the kind of comments we're getting now, which is incredible.
That's amazing. And healthier food than some of those stores, you know, the shelf stable stuff.
Exactly. Right? Or even, you know, you take canned food, high in sodium, usually kind of concentrated,
Right.
which, you know, is definitely something to feed your family, but you can even add produce to things like that. So making it a healthier option is just, it's been so great.
Well, and you guys obviously provide a lot of food to the whole county here in Payne County, but also you provide other resources. Tell us a little bit about some of those other resources.
Absolutely. So that's the second part of our mission, providing connections that enable lasting change. So since the student farm produce, we've been able to partner much more than before with OSU Extension to provide cooking classes and samples and demonstrations with the produce that we have. Also gardening classes. We provide classes on budgeting and finance. We did an early childhood parenting class this week. We host the Baby Mobile from Infant Crisis Services. Payne County Health Department comes a lot for different educational things, STI testing, things like that. So those are the resources we want to connect our guests to while they're here, because often, you know, once you get here, when in the moment of stress, you're thinking, okay, I need food for my family. But then when they get here, we want to be able to provide them other things here,
Right.
so that they don't have to go searching all over town or looking for what else they need or thinking 3 steps ahead of what they need today.
Right. And cooking class is an important part of that too, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
know a lot of times it's like, okay, I have this whatever product and I don't know what to do with this necessarily. So
Exactly.
you're providing them with those resources to actually utilize it.
Exactly. We met with Lynda and Matt, the farm managers, before they ever started growing and planting. And we said, okay, you know, they said, what do your guests want? So we had a survey that kind of showed the most popular fruits and vegetables for this
Right.
region, honestly. But then we had to balance that with, okay, but what's hardy crops? What's going to have a long shelf life so we have it for a long time?
Right.
So one of those things, for example, was spaghetti squash. But a lot of people don't know exactly what to do with it. They wanted to take it, but then you
Right.
get it home and you're like, what? So that's where Extension came in and did several prep classes and then some samples of a couple of different recipes for our guests before they shopped, so they could see, like, hey, here's some ideas on what you could do with it.
That's amazing. Well, and I know as we head into the holiday season, a lot of times people's mind sort of shifts and think about how they can help and serve their community.
Yeah.
But this isn't just a thing for the holidays. This is a year-round thing and a year-round need. How can people get involved any time of the year?
Yeah, so I mean, specifically around here, we say hunger isn't just on the holidays. That's kind of our key word, but we obviously do need sometimes more help in the holidays. Specifically for us, our OSU community kind of vacates during Christmas break. And so you can go to our website. Anyone can call and pick any extension and leave a message that you want to help, and I promise we will get back to you. But yeah, we have more shoppers during the holidays and then also lower numbers of volunteers typically. So we can usually make those volunteer shifts work. Even if you and your family can come for an hour or two, it makes a huge difference.
And it's everything from like stocking shelves to,
Exactly.
donating paper bags and plastic sacks for shopping, right?
Egg cartons, all kinds of things that we take all the time. Obviously monetary donations, but time. You can go to our website and go to our Get Involved tab, and there's give food, give time, give money. Lots of different options on how you can help. Not everybody can be a shopping assistant, nor do they want to be, but I promise we've got a place for you.
Well, Rachel, I know our Daily Bread is very Payne County focused, but there's people all across the state that can help. Where should they go to get involved in their local community food
Absolutely.
resource?
Yeah. So one great resource for finding organizations that help people is 211.
Okay.
You can call, or they do have a website. If you go there, you can see a list of resources in your area. And if you want to help, you give them a call. I promise you they won't turn you away.
All right. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
this.
Join us next week on the Best of Oklahoma Gardening as we give you some inspiration with the promise that warmer days are ahead of us.
Ta-da! Just hard at work here in the garden. All right, we're shooting this in camera.
To find out more information about show topics as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure to visit our website at oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. Join in on Facebook and Instagram. You can find this entire show and other recent shows as well as individual segments on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. Tune in to our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel to watch segments from previous hosts. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens, and we encourage you to come visit this beautiful Stillwater gem. We would like to thank our generous underwriter, the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry. Additional support is also provided by Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, the Oklahoma Horticulture Society, the Tulsa Garden Club, and the Tulsa Garden Center.